Welcome to the world of Aira tales. If you're just joining us, we invite you to subscribe and show your appreciation for this video. In just a fleeting moment, inspiration ignites, urging us to weave more tales. Kindly show your appreciation for this video, and now, let us begin the tale. Never did I imagine I would be here, feeling this way. I was raised in a quaint town, nurturing dreams of a serene and joyful existence. I united with my college sweetheart, Adam, in a moment of youthful promise and dreams. Though our possessions were few, the bond we shared was everything we needed. At least that's what I believed. In reflection, the whispers of what lay ahead become clear. Yet, in that moment, it was beyond my wildest dreams. When Adam and I first stepped into our cozy little house, we encountered Mr. Thompson, our landlord. The house held little, yet it was filled with our essence. It held a warm allure, a quaint garden, and a cherished little backyard that captured my heart. Adam and I felt a thrilling anticipation as we embraced this new chapter together. Mr. Thompson carried the wisdom of his early 60s, a gentle presence that spoke of experience and depth. His face radiated warmth, a smile lighting up our encounters. He was the type of landlord who would occasionally visit, ensuring the house was filled with warmth and care. I recall the moment he arrived to mend the broken fence. His politeness wrapped around us like a warm embrace, each question a gentle touch, as he shared whispers of how the neighborhood had transformed through time. At that moment, it barely registered in my mind. He was simply a warm, gentle presence. Yet, a gentle shift began to unfold. With Adam away more frequently for work, the house felt emptier, and I found myself lost in my thoughts, wrapped in solitude. In those moments, I found myself seeing Mr. Thompson through a new lens. He would drop by unexpectedly, sometimes to see how the house was, other times just to share a moment together. Initially, I believed it was innocent. After all, he held the keys to our world. Yet, as time passed, I sensed a change in the rhythm of our exchanges. One afternoon, as I tended to the garden, Mr. Thompson appeared at my side. He visited more often, and while I welcomed his presence, an unsettling feeling began to linger in the air. His kindness was reassuring, a presence that brought familiarity to my day, yet beneath it lay a presence that carried a certain gravity, making me more aware of the moment. On that particular afternoon, he lingered a little longer than usual. We shared whispers about the weather, the garden, and gradually, the essence of life itself. In those moments, I felt a stirring curiosity in his presence. "Do you find joy in this place?" He looked at me that day, his gaze stirring something deep within, leaving me feeling a touch vulnerable. Uncertainty lingered in my mind, leaving me at a loss for words. Of course, I felt joy with Adam, yet a subtle distance began to weave itself between us, particularly with his long hours at work. There were moments when solitude wrapped around me, even in his presence. Yet, I hesitated to voice that truth to Mr. Thompson. I smiled and nodded, attempting to dismiss the thought, yet Mr. Thompson held on, refusing to let it fade. At times, he whispered, "We overlook the significance of having a confidant, of feeling truly heard by another." His words lingered in the air, leaving me momentarily thoughtful. His words hung in the air, a soft echo of his presence long after he had gone. I dismissed it, convincing myself it was merely a fleeting exchange. Yet, with each visit from Mr. Thompson, I began to sense delicate changes in the way he carried himself. His compliments, once light, now held a depth that stirred something within me. He'd remark on my beauty, on the care I put into myself, and the warmth of the home I nurtured. Initially, I believed his gestures were merely acts of kindness, yet soon it became clear he was attuned to nuances that others overlooked. One evening, Adam found himself distant, lost in the rhythm of a business trip. The night was still, and I nestled on the couch with a book, when the doorbell broke the silence. Surprise lingered in the air as I paused, uncertain before I opened the door. As I opened the door, Mr. Thompson awaited me, a warm smile gracing his lips. I offered a soft smile, retreating slightly to welcome him inside. His unexpected visits had woven themselves into the fabric of my days, leaving me unperturbed. He entered the living room, and our conversation flowed, just like it always did. Yet, this time, an unusual tension lingered in the atmosphere. There was something in his gaze that made me pause, as if he saw beyond my words. It was subtle, just a glance, a prolonged stare, yet it stirred something deep within me, quickening my heartbeat. As we spoke, Mr. Thompson drew nearer to me than he typically would. He stood closer than usual, his presence noticeable in the quiet atmosphere. I recall a soft laugh escaping me, a gentle attempt to mask the unease blossoming within my heart. I convinced myself it was merely kindness, that my feelings were exaggerated. But then, as if attuned to my unease, Mr. Thompson leaned in closer, his hand softly resting on the arm of the couch. "You know," he said, "it's a rare gift to encounter someone like you, a true listener, deeply attuned to every word, a heart that genuinely feels." The words appeared simple, yet his tone held a depth that sent shivers across my skin. I felt the urge to step back, to express my unease, yet I remained still. I chuckled softly, drawing my legs close to my chest, seeking a moment of space between us, even if only in body. Mr. Thompson sensed the change in my stance, and for a heartbeat, the air around us held its breath. His gaze lingered on me, gentle yet edged with an intensity that captivated my senses. "I never intended to unsettle you," he murmured, his tone soft and intimate. "Your presence is truly valued. There's something truly unique about you, Sarah." The sound of my name on his lips left me momentarily breathless. My heart raced, caught in a whirlwind of feelings, leaving me speechless. I longed to speak, to shatter the silence, yet the right words eluded me. I felt suspended in time, held captive by the intensity of the moment. Before I could utter a word, Mr. Thompson rose to his feet. With a soft smile, he gently urged, "I should let you return to your evening." Yet, there was an intriguing quality in the smile, an elusive essence that stirred my curiosity. "I just wanted to reach out and see how you're feeling." I nodded, my throat parched, and observed him as he departed the house. As the door softly closed, a breath I hadn't realized I was holding escaped my lips. I lingered by the door, lost in thought, as time seemed to stretch endlessly, grappling with the weight of recent events. Never before had I experienced such a deep turmoil within me. A whisper of longing urged me to share my truth with Adam, yet a shadow of fear held me back, worried about his judgment and my own vulnerability. I never intended to create any tension. I wished to avoid planting seeds of doubt in his mind or, even more, igniting his anger. Yet, the deeper I delved into my thoughts, the clearer it became that I could no longer overlook the emotions Mr. Thompson stirred within me. Felt off, and I hesitated to nurture it. Still, an undeniable sense lingered within me, whispering that his visits held deeper secrets yet to be revealed. What was I meant to feel? With each passing day, Mr. Thompson found himself drawn to visit more often. Every time he arrived, a familiar wave of tension and restlessness washed over me. I attempted to dismiss it, yet it grew increasingly difficult to overlook. He had a way of stirring something deep within me, leaving my heart racing, though I couldn't quite understand it. I understood the need for caution, aware that I mustn't allow the situation to spiral beyond control. Yet, I sensed that beneath the surface, a transformation was unfolding. I had yet to discover the depths it would reach. As days melted into weeks, the unspoken connection with Mr. Thompson deepened, charged with an undeniable energy. I had yet to share with Adam the peculiar moments with our landlord. A part of me trembled at the thought that he might not comprehend, or, even more haunting, that he could respond with anger and disappointment. In the end, I was merely seeking connection, wasn't I? It was merely a fleeting exchange, nothing deeper. Was it? I reminded myself of that each time Mr. Thompson appeared at the house unexpectedly, attempting to dismiss the flutter of unease within me. Yet, the discomfort lingered, refusing to fade away. The memory of Mr. Thompson's gaze lingered in my mind, his fingers brushing the armrest of the couch during that visit, hinting at a bond that felt deeper than mere neighborly ties. I found myself lost in the memory, each replay deepening the ache inside me. On a serene Tuesday evening, I stood in the kitchen, the soft sound of my knife meeting the vegetables, lost in my thoughts. Cooking had always brought me joy, yet tonight it seemed to weigh heavy, lacking its usual warmth. My mind wandered, a stirring sensation lingering, as if the air itself held a promise of what was to come. The moment I began to season the chicken, the soft chime of the doorbell echoed through the air. My heart fluttered. I gazed through the kitchen window, and there he was, Mr. Thompson at the door, his familiar warm smile lighting up the moment. Days had passed since I last saw him, and instead of relief, an unfamiliar tension coiled within me. I dried my hands gently, inhaled deeply, and approached the door with a quiet anticipation. "Good evening, Sarah," Mr. Thompson greeted warmly as I opened the door. "I hope I'm not intruding on a moment." "No, not at all," I replied, a smile playing on my lips. I moved aside, allowing him to enter, and he crossed the threshold effortlessly as if it were the most instinctive act imaginable. He looked around, his gaze lingering for a moment on the kitchen where I was lost in the rhythm of preparing dinner. The air was filled with a delightful aroma, he remarked, his eyes holding onto the dish I was preparing. "Your culinary skills are impressive," I acknowledged softly, feeling a mix of admiration and uncertainty in my response. "It's a quiet meal, nothing extravagant, yet it holds a certain warmth." "You always say that," Mr. Thompson chuckled, "but you have a gift for turning the ordinary into something remarkable." The compliment was sweet, I suppose, yet it carried a unique weight when it came from him. It felt different from the sweet words shared by friends or even Adam. There was a depth to his gaze, as if he perceived something within me that transcended the mere food or the home. A wave of unease washed over me, but I fought to set it aside. "Thank you," I whispered, letting it linger in the air. "Is there something you desire? Are you here to explore something deeper?" Mr. Thompson's gaze softened, revealing a hint of vulnerability. He lingered in silence before finding his words. "I was hoping we could share a moment together. It feels like ages since we last shared a meaningful moment together." My heart fluttered in unexpected delight. Our encounters were filled with light exchanges, yet we had never lingered in a deep conversation. I sensed his presence nearby often, yet I was unprepared for his desire to delve into deeper conversation. A wave of unease washed over me, yet I nodded softly. "Of course, let's take a moment to be together." I guided him into the living room, inviting him to settle onto the couch. I found myself across from him, in the familiar chair where Adam and I often shared quiet moments watching TV. An uneasy stillness hung in the air before Mr. Thompson's voice broke through, carrying a weight I had never sensed from him before. He started with a gentle touch. "I've been reflecting deeply on life lately, on the way everything evolves with time. Amidst the daily rush, it's simple to forget the essence of what truly holds significance." I felt a flutter of uncertainty about his direction. "I understand," I replied softly. "In the rush of life, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters." Mr. Thompson nodded, his gaze lingering on mine. "Precisely. Yet, it's essential to pause and ensure we are genuinely experiencing life rather than merely existing in its flow." His words stirred a flutter within me, leaving me at a loss for how to reply. His words lingered in the air, a tantalizing mystery I hesitated to unravel. "Sarah," he murmured gently, inclining closer just a touch. "Sarah, I've always appreciated our conversations since the day we met, a unique bond that lingers in my thoughts. So many times I've reflected on our talks, the grace in your presence. You have a rare ability to truly listen, and that's something I deeply respect." My breath hitched softly in my throat. His words wrapped around me, tender yet revealing a deeper truth. His words carried a certain weight, making me reflect more deeply than usual. A wave of uncertainty washed over me, leaving me feeling confined and hesitant. My thoughts swirled, searching for words to ease the thick tension that hung in the air. I find myself at a loss for words," I murmured, my voice soft and delicate. He appeared untouched by what I said. He reclined in his chair, his gaze lingering on me, a mystery in his eyes. "I see," he murmured softly, his tone laced with regret. "I hope this doesn't unsettle you, Sarah, yet I can't ignore the emotions that stir within me." His words sparked a thrilling rush within me. His admiration for me had been spoken before, yet this moment felt uniquely profound. His gaze held a depth and intensity that stirred something within. A wave of uncertainty and trepidation washed over me. This had transformed from a simple landlord's check-in into something deeper, something that left me uncertain and intrigued. "I don't wish to create any tension between you and your husband," Mr. Thompson said softly, "yet I can no longer hide the pull I feel towards you. I needed to share what stirs within me." Words escaped me. I parted my lips, yet silence enveloped me. I wished to protect him, yet I couldn't bear to lead him on. What was I meant to do in this moment? How can I convey to him that my heart belongs to Adam and that I am not seeking anything beyond my marriage? At last, I inhaled deeply, my heart racing within me. Mr. Thompson, I spoke softly, I appreciate your honesty, yet I must express my feelings clearly. My heart belongs to my husband and my commitment is unwavering. Your kindness means a lot to me, but I prefer to keep our connection strictly professional. A lingering silence hung between us, and I noticed the shadow of disappointment dance in his gaze. He gazed at his hands, a soft nod escaping his lips. He spoke softly, a deep understanding in his voice. I regret if my actions caused you any discomfort. It was never my desire to cause that feeling. I nodded, a wave of warmth enveloping me. The tension between us faded, yet a subtle unease remained, echoing in the silence. The weight of unspoken emotions lingered in the air, a quiet certainty that Mr. Thompson's feelings for me would remain, regardless of my awareness. He rose, and I mirrored his movement. Thank you for listening, he murmured, his voice gentle yet tinged with a trace of melancholy. I'll let you enjoy your evening alone. I want you to feel safe and valued, Sarah. I wanted to share my feelings with you. I offered a smile, concealing the turmoil that lingered within me. Thank you, Mr. Thompson, I whispered softly. I look forward to our paths crossing again. As he stepped through the door, I lingered for a heartbeat, gazing at the void he left behind. My thoughts danced in a whirlwind. It felt surreal, as if time had paused in that fleeting moment. I was bound to Adam, yet a moment with our landlord stirred something within me. What was happening, and why did it seem like my whole existence was gently coming apart? I gently dismissed the doubts swirling in my mind. I needed to immerse myself in my life with Adam, to cherish the love and devotion we held dear. A subtle, persistent whisper within me hinted that this was just the beginning. Following my talk with Mr. Thompson, I sought to cast aside the weight of it all. I hoped it wouldn't strain my bond with Adam, and I certainly wished to keep things simple with our landlord. Yet, despite my efforts to conceal my emotions, they lingered on, refusing to fade away. The weight of guilt and confusion wrapped around me, leaving me in a haze of uncertainty about our connection. A few days later, Mr. Thompson made a surprise appearance once more. A flutter of anticipation stirred within me at the sound of the doorbell. Though I felt unprepared for the tension that lay ahead, I understood the necessity of confronting it directly. I stepped through the door, striving to maintain my calm. Greetings, Sarah. He welcomed me, his voice rich with warmth yet gentle. I wanted to reach out and see how everything is going with the house. I nodded, a smile playing on my lips. All is well, Mr. Thompson. Thank you for your inquiry. He paused, a moment of uncertainty lingering in the air before he spoke again. I've been reflecting deeply on our last conversation. I never intended to create any unease for you. Your boundaries are clear to me, and I honor them deeply. I needed to express what was in my heart. I gazed at him, the gravity of his words lingering in the air between us. I needed to stand my ground now. Uncertainty had no place here. I appreciate your understanding, I responded, yet I must express my thoughts clearly. I am committed to someone special. My heart is devoted to my marriage with Adam, and I must guard it against any distractions. I cherish what we have in our professional connection, yet it remains just that. Mr. Thompson's gaze warmed, yet a trace of melancholy lingered in his eyes. He nodded gently, embracing my words with quiet understanding. I see, he murmured softly. I apologize if I crossed a line. I inhaled deeply, a wave of calm washing over me. It's all right. I simply wish to ensure our thoughts align. He offered a gentle nod, a silent farewell before he turned away. As he turned to leave, I lingered in the doorway, captivated by the sight of him fading into the distance, a swirl of feelings enveloping me. A bittersweet ache lingered within me, a gentle sorrow for what was lost, yet a quiet relief for the boundaries I had finally embraced. That evening, as Adam and I shared dinner, a warmth enveloped me, and for the first time in a long while, I felt deeply connected. The echoes of recent days lingered in my heart, yet I felt the gentle pull to embrace what lay ahead. I needed to center my heart on what truly mattered, my family, my devotion to Adam, and the deep bond we cherished. Is everything all right? Adam inquired, sensing my unusual silence. I smiled, attempting to set aside the thoughts that clung to me. Lost in thought. Having you here feels so right. His smile returned, fingers entwined with mine. There's a warmth in returning to where the heart feels at ease. In that instant, I understood that despite the tangled web of feelings, my path was unmistakably defined. I needed to safeguard the bond one shared with Adam. I was determined to let nothing and no one stand between us, feeling deep down that together we could overcome anything.